Hi, welcome to A Hot Take, a podcast where we interview trending authors and highlight new and exciting books. My name is Jenna Green, a YA fantasy author, author of the Imagine series and the Reborn Mark series. With me is Miranda O, a contemporary chick lit author, author of the Chin Up Tits Out series, and she has both the privilege and honor of introducing our guest for today. Hi, Miranda.
Hello, hello. I am so excited and honored to interview and to mostly chat with our guest today. Now, Shane Wilson was born in Alabama and raised in Georgia. And all I keep thinking about is peaches when I say that. And he graduated with a master's in English and is known for his magical realism novel, A Year Since the Rain, as well as the stage play called The Boy Who Kissed the Rain. So welcome, Shane. We are so excited to have you on the show today.
Well, thank you so much, Miranda and Jenna, and thank you for including me on a podcast that is about trending authors. I don't know how I snuck in here, but thank you nonetheless.
Yeah, we got. Is it like the hashtag Shane Wilson? Because like you're trending, right? Well,
yeah,
if
right.
not,
Yeah.
we'll make you trending.
We'll be soon.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. So
it's very exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's very
to be on the cusp of trending.
We're right there. Just tip you over the edge, right?
That's right. Well, a lot of people have said that I was due for a trend here soon, so maybe this is the moment. Maybe this is
the moment. I can feel it. It's the breaking moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so now before kind of we get into your writing and your screenplay and kind of that artistic side of yourself, tell us a little bit about you from not the artistic version of Shane.
Yeah.
Who are you? I mean, we know that, but like, share.
I mean, you know that in a paper sense, right? Like, yes, I can show you my birth certificate or my government issued ID.
Yes, I want documentation.
Yeah,
Shane
exactly.
Wilson.
Let's write that social security number down.
Right? Yeah, let's do that. But I don't know. Is that a valid answer?
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you a lot of things that I do. Like I am a teacher. That's part of the identity, right? Is that I teach college English. I've been doing that for a very long time. I have a dog and a cat, and that is part of it, probably more often than I'd like it to be, especially when one of them has to randomly use the restroom at 3 a.m. and I can't figure out why they're whining out of turn, you know? Yeah, you know, I mean, like creativity or creative pursuits have been such a focus, I guess, maybe intentionally or not intentionally, of my adult life that I don't really know what I am outside of that, right? Because I would say that teaching is also a creative pursuit on some level. I teach writing, but I also teach academic writing, which is less creative. I had this conversation with my students today about how, you know, I love creativity and I love that you guys are being creative, but this assignment doesn't need that. And it's really hard to live in that academic space sometimes as a creative person, because so much of academic pursuit is void of that kind of.
You have to follow I'm an English major and Miranda's outnumbered here because I'm an elementary school teacher. But yeah, that academic writing, you have to follow the system, you know, MLA format or APA format, and you have to, you know, I
try really hard to help my students find places to play in academic writing, because I think that somewhere along the line, some people made the really terrible mistake of deciding that academic writing had to be boring. I don't think that it has to be, but I also know that I'm training my students not to write for me for the rest of their lives, but to write for their other teachers and all of that, right? And so, like, while I like to allow them room to play in the writing, I also acknowledge that everyone that they encounter will not allow for that.
And there's writing for entertainment, and there's writing primarily, and then there's writing for information primarily. Now, it doesn't mean you can't throw some information into the entertainment. And hey, I agree with you. Throw a joke into the information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Breaks it up a little bit.
Right. Yeah. You can usually find them in the footnotes. There's usually
Yeah, I love a good footnote joke for sure.
Yeah,
But you said it is like, how to identify myself out of this creative person, because everything that I pursue is creative in some way, shape, or form. And I think that stands true to a lot of artists out there, whether we are musicians or writers or painters or actors, et cetera, et cetera. It's, you kind of always gravitate to that type of activity, or I mean, arts in all types. And then you're like, okay, well, that is kind of my identity. And it's cool that, that you follow suit. And it's like, even though I'm a teacher, it's still a creative aspect, and I drive pleasure from it. And, and then of course you're fur baby dad, and who doesn't love to let their dog out at 3:00 in the morning? It's great.
I tend to think that the more valuable aspects of a personality probably are the things that we pursue in our free time.
Yeah.
Because we take the time that we're given to do anything with, and this is the thing we've decided to pursue, right? And so, yeah, like I could also talk about how I probably play more Fortnite than I should, but the real serious pursuits of my free time are ideally creative. And this is something, Miranda and Jenna, that I've been struggling with a little bit, and I'm so glad that I get to talk to you ladies about it. Let's hash it out. Let's heart to heart this thing.
Yes.
Because I think I've struggled because as of late, I feel like my creative energies have been low, and that I've sort of like reached the bottom of a tank in some way. Like a year or two ago, I had so many projects, right? I was drafting a new novel. I was editing a novel. I was writing a stage play. I was finishing an album of music. I was like, there were so many things, and now it seems, and I don't know what to blame. I think I could probably blame all of this that's happening just around us right now for just making me emotionally like tapped out.
Yep.
But it's been a real struggle. And as someone who's been creative for so long and had decent output, I almost feel guilty on some level for not continuing or not actively pursuing some of those things now. I was wondering what you ladies thought
I get
about all of
that.
that.
I get that. Well, and Miranda probably gets it more than I do because of the exhaustion factor. Like when I get home and then I put my kid to bed and then I do my marking and then I plan for the next day, and I have like an hour before I have to be asleep, and I'm like, I could lie on the floor
Yeah.
and possibly play Candy Crush, but possibly just lie there or get off my butt and write something. It is a hard battle. And Miranda with a little baby,
Yeah.
I don't even know. You're just covered in drool all the time. So,
oh yeah, I get puked on probably like on average twice a day. So today was spaghetti bolognese. It was great. So wearing black for a reason.
Right.
But you know what? I'm glad that you brought this up, Shane, because I have been thinking a lot about this lately as well myself. Like besides being a new mom, there's so much going on in the world and so much going on in social media and the news. You turn on the TV, you open up a browser on your computer, you even open up a browser on your phone, and it's hammering all this negative news. And it doesn't
bad news.
Right. And it doesn't matter how fast you scroll through it to find the next positive thing or the next funny video or whatever it is, we're still absorbing that in some sort of capacity. And even though we're not consciously reading it and taking it in, our subconscious is still absorbing that. And I think it drains our life cup. And I think as artists, we go through this kind of up and down, ebb and flow type thing where last year I was in the same spot. A year and a half ago, before, choosing to start a family, I had so much on the go. And now I'm like, okay, let me just get through the day. And I very much struggled for the last couple of months because I told everybody that I was leaving work. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write a book on my 6 months off. So I'm not only going to deliver a baby, but I'm going to write a book. I'm going to continue my podcast, this, and this. And then like 6 months happened and I've written a chapter. I'm like, ooh, girl, So I felt really guilty about it, but then at the same time, I'm like, you know what? No, I think I need to take a step back and just live my life and refill my cup, because there will be a time, it's like you're just kind of in that down slope right now. So, fill it up, get as much from the outside positive as you can. And then all of a sudden you're just going to explode with a bunch of creativity. Could be next month. It could be in 6 months. It could be next year, but to never kind of feel guilty if you're ever in a down spout. I think that's just kind of the natural process and balance of life, especially in the creative world.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, the ideas are there, that, like, I have the ideas, but the execution is something that I've been very good at and very consistent at. And I just have no get up and go, for lack of a better word, to do it. I'm like sitting on edits right now for my publisher. They're probably like ready to get those back. I've had them for way longer than I ever normally would have. And I know I'm like every Sunday, I'm like, oh, I could like go in there and spend a couple hours on that and get that done. Or I could not. And just like, and not feel any better about myself because I avoided it, and not feel any more productive and not do anything more productive, right? Just not do anything. And that would be fine. I do understand, or at least I believe, that the human machine only has so much emotional capital available to it at any moment. And in the last 5 years or so, we've been bombarded by traumatic global experience after traumatic global experience, to the point that we don't even have a moment to grieve the hundreds of thousands of people who have died. We don't even have a moment like to think about that and process this massive tragedy on a global scale, because we're dealing with the next thing.
Yeah, I'm still trying to process March from like
2020,
let alone what happened yesterday.
Yeah, and it creates this really oppressive backlog of emotion. I've been calling it emotional congestion.
Yes. I like that.
Yeah, emotional congestion is a term that a friend of mine in college came up with, and it's very reminiscent of that what we were talking about back then. This idea that everything is just backed up, and I think now it's because there's just so much of it that it's clogged up the system. And I think that emotional capital is directly related to creativity.
Yes.
And if you don't have the capital to spend on that pursuit, then you're probably not going to do it. And right now I'm just kind of like trying to feel my way through what a lull in that process looks like,
And every project tends to go through its own like journey. I've written some books that took me like 12 years, and I've had books that have popped out in like 3 months. And there's one, even a book in itself will go through its lulls, and it's like you could be writing like 10 chapters that fly out within 5 hours, and then it just stalls. And you're like, story, and you're looking at the characters going, you were writing this thing by yourselves. I barely had to participate. Now you just, you need a break. Okay. I'll just wait you out. Oh, okay. Muse, let's go. And you just, sometimes it's what it is. And you're just like, no, wait till you're ready. Like, it's an interesting thing. Kind of hard to like analyze, but that's just what it's like.
Yeah. I still believe that the best way to be creative is to show up every day and do the work. But I think the question that I've just been faced with on many days in the last couple of years is, what do you do if you don't have that energy to show up that day? Does that make you less of an artist? I don't think so. It probably makes you more of one, if anything.
Yeah, probably.
Right. Like the struggle, it's all a struggle, right? And on some other level, it starts to feel like, oh man, like why am I like so worried about my little stories, right? Like think about all the other stuff, like that seems that it should outweigh this thing that is incredibly important to me, but it also feels so tediously small, else. Right? In light of everything else, yeah.
But when everything else goes to, we turn to artists.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's where we get our solace.
Yeah, we do. We escape in music. We escape in books. We escape in binging TV shows and movies, right?
Yeah.
It's funny that you should say like emotional congestion. Like it I feel like it's part of the creative process to take the days off, simply because showing up doesn't necessarily, to me anyways, and this is kind of what I've learned about talking to other writers over the years, is showing up doesn't necessarily mean showing up to the computer, opening up a Word document, and actually typing words. Showing up maybe means just mindfully thinking, or maybe even not even mindfully, just thinking about it in the back of your mind, going, you know what, I'm going to build on a character, or maybe build on a scene, or build on an idea. And it doesn't have to be very productive, but at least it's sitting in the back of my mind and kind of the gears are working. And I'm binge watching a TV show, and I'm like, oh, that it's likens to something that I want to write about, or there's a connectivity or a relatability. And still, like, that could be part of your creative process. It's not like you're going to be copying the TV show you're binging.
Right.
You're just processing it, going like, I like this idea. Maybe I like the way that the characters interact, or I like the back setting, or I like how, the writer went and chose to, use the point of view of the story. I definitely think that that's something that we often miss as giving ourselves credit for, but we should, and we definitely deserve to, because there's a lot of people that just binge watch mindlessly and don't ever think further than that. But I think as artists, we're always watching or reading or listening and trying to connect something to our next piece, or to a piece down the road.
When I'm stuck, I go for a walk. And my husband gets frustrated because sometimes my walks are an hour and sometimes they're 4 minutes. And he's like, what kind of walk did you do in 4 minutes? I'm like, sorry, an idea came. And I'll write a scene and go for a walk. Sometimes it's like I'm gone for a while. And sometimes I'm like, I barely got my shoes on.
For a little while, playing the guitar was my walk, right? Like if I got stuck, I would just play the guitar for a little while, and then that would loosen up the brain some. I believe that, and this is just something that I've been reflecting on over the last little bit, I think that such an important part of my process as a creative is the lived experience, right? Like you were talking about, like consuming television, and you sort of like, it can be a case study and narrative, and you can learn some things from that. But I also think that, for me at least, it's so important to get out there and mix it up with the world. And there's just been so few opportunities to do that over the last little bit. And like, that's where I mine ideas, right? Is through like experience. And the fact that I haven't had as many opportunities to get out there and mix it up is probably another source of the drought, right? Because there's just a little less of that. And so I've had to replace that with other things, like, reading more, doing research and stuff like that. It's a little disappointing because I had just started like playing in a new genre when like the fatigue really hit me. And so there's that part of, I mean, as artists, we're always just rife with crippling self-doubt, right? About the thing that we're working on. And so if once I like got clogged up in the middle of this new manuscript in a genre that I hadn't worked in before, I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm just a one-trick pony, like maybe I can only do this other thing that I've done 3 times, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know this is supposed to be a hot take, and all I came in here with was like, I just like peeled the scab off and wanted to talk to you guys about my feelings. But
all I can think about that though now is, well, and all I can think about now is like analyzing this area in literature. Because I have an English degree. You talk about Victorian literature, and you talk about modernist literature, and you talk about postmodern literature. I can't wait when I'm like 80 years old to go back and analyze pandemic literature. And like pre-pandemic, like, and we won't know till years later how to analyze what we're currently in. And there's gonna be, I believe
it'll probably be like the next, like you talk about the academic, like the benchmarks, right? I would argue that postmodernism, right? Whatever they end up calling that, is probably like that probably runs from the wide availability of the internet to the pandemic, I think, and then the pandemic sort of triggers like the next shift, whatever that means, probably more inward, whereas the internet put us more outward, right? And made the world smaller. In a lot of ways, like it made us feel like we could reach out and talk to anybody, whereas the pandemic made the world feel much larger and much more vast and much
And
more
that we
empty.
couldn't talk to anyone because
Right.
they're gone.
Yeah. And so how do we internalize that and put it out? And you guys were talking about music, and I've been really struck by a lot of the music that has come out of artists that I think that I've always respected, but have made, I think, some of their best music in the last 2 years. And I would point unashamedly at the Taylor Swift albums. I thought that Folklore is a masterpiece, and that's a masterpiece of isolation and desperation, right? And I think we all probably are just kind of waiting for that, for us to get a little unclogged so we can
Mhm.
finally grapple with the weight of this moment in our art.
Nice. I like that. But just while you're here, we can still talk about all the amazing
The
art
stuff that I've done
that you've
before.
already created. Well,
Yes.
because I want to know more about. So you have the novels A Year Since the Rain, The Smoke in His Eyes, and The Boy Who Kissed the Rain. They're all
Yeah.
part of a series, correct?
Sort of, yeah. It's an extended universe that I was writing in for a while.
The
A
world of
shared
muses,
universe.
correct?
Yeah,
Like, 'cause
the
that's
world
what I
of
want
muses.
you to tell us about, more about
Yes.
this world that you've created, this, well, universe.
Yeah, so it's very similar to the world that we live in. Everything is basically the same, except for these elements of magic. That's the magical realism, right? That everything feels very similar, and then eventually, as you're reading, you're like, something's not quite right with this, or like
Everything's
this
the
a little
same. And then,
weird.
oh, a dragon.
Yeah, right, exactly. No dragons in my stuff though, sorry. But muses, right? And so like I've sort of played with the idea of the old muse, and part of the mythology of the world of muses is this school where muses are trained, and it's like hidden off in the mountains, and nobody really knows about it or how to get to it. And the muses are trained, and then they're sent out into the world to inspire the person that they were meant to inspire, or the people, right? In some cases, and they're all sort of trained uh, in different methods of inspiration, and they're not all inspiring artistic creation, though some of them do in the traditional sense, right? But other muses inspire people to grow, or to evolve, or they inspire them to move beyond grief or trauma. And so like all of the muses are kind of equipped with their own skill set. But the muse is never the focus of the narrative. The muse always sort of comes in to save the day, right? Like, for lack of a better word. Yeah, so that's sort of the school where like it's the oh god, what did I even call it? It's been so long since I named the thing, but it's like Miss Graves school for young girls or something like that. And Miss is the name Miss Graves comes from Robert Graves, who wrote the manuscript The White Goddess, and The White Goddess was sort of the British version of the muse. That's sort of like where all that like stupid literary illusion stuff comes from, right? But regardless, like all of the muses in the universe attended this school, and then they've like gone out. The only way that we know about the school is because one of the guys fell in love with his muse, and when she disappeared, he went looking for her, and it took him to this old like rundown school in the mountains. And that's in The Smoke in His Eyes for anybody who's interested in that. But yeah, so that's sort of the thing that connects. That's the connective tissue throughout the whole thing. But each story is a standalone story. And there's also kind of a universe-wide arc that is happening. But think like MCU stuff, right? Like Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, because each story stands alone, but they all also build up to this one big apocalyptic event that happens to the universe that is sort of separate from what's going on with the muses.
So those are sometimes classified as like companion books, where you don't have to have read all the books.
There are little
but
nuggets in all of them for you, right? Like if you
Yeah.
read all of them, then you would see references to each of them in the other books. But those references aren't something that would confuse somebody if they hadn't read. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. So like when the guy discovers this school, he finds like a sign in, like a roster, right? And he's reading through the names, and on that list of names, you see the names of other muses in the other books. So like that, there's that little nod, right? Little things like that, but everything is completely independent from each other, and there aren't even that. There are a few sort of character crossovers that happen, but they are, again, like they're very self-contained and independent.
Interesting. You don't see a lot of books about muses. And then the idea that they're in charge of like inspiration, not just art, inspiration. I love the idea that, like, I know you say that they're not the central focus, but they are part of the premise. And that idea that, you know, you can inspire someone to try something new or inspire someone to, you know, finally let go of grief.
Right.
Right. That's
Yeah,
a very intriguing.
these books are so wildly adult, right? Like in every single way that they could be. But I've always kind of wanted to write a YA story just about the school because I feel like it would be a really cool place to set a story like that and focus on young characters. But man, like as a gateway drug to these other books, like some people would get freaked out when they crossed over, you know. But yeah, I mean, I still think it's kind of a cool idea at least to think
I
about.
love that idea. I think in the day we are in a time where we have information overload, right?
Mhm.
And we can basically Google search anything and it will back ourselves up with
Right.
whether it's right or wrong or real or fake. You
Yeah.
know, I saw something. It was just like, if I want to, like, I'm more confused than ever. So I saw something. It was a guy, I don't know, whatever, but he said, I want to Google, does coffee make me blind? And so
Right.
he Googled, does coffee make me blind?
I saw this.
And right. And then it's like, yeah, if you drink 3 cups of coffee, you're increasing your chances of glaucoma. And he goes, does coffee help reduce the chances of becoming blind? Yes, coffee has been linked to
Right.
different studies on how it reduces your chance of becoming blind. So we are in this information overload. So if you were to write something YA and direct it to these young adults and have, or kids, young adults, and give them something that's relatable but educational and inspiring, versus all the nonsense on Google, whether it's true or not true, like it gives something that they connect with that's not the Google search engine out
Right.
there. And I absolutely love that because, again, it's overwhelming to go out there and to find inspiration or to get something that's not negative on the internet.
Right.
So if I can pick up a book, a story, and it be inspirational and educational, but also quite fun to read, then hey, I'm hooked on that.
Yeah.
And it resonates with me for life.
Yeah, and you know, right now there are 4 novels and a stage play set in the world of muses. 2 of the novels aren't out. One is out next year, and then the 4th one is in the drawer while I try to figure out what I want to do with it. But like, there's still a lot of stories there, right? And so I decided to pause on that particular story for a little while and then maybe come back to it, and with the YA thing, maybe with something different. I've got a couple of different ways that I could go with the next chapter, right, of this world of muses story. But it's a fun place, it's a fun sandbox to play in, but then, you know, like I ended the world in there, so now I've got to figure out what to do with what's left, you know. So like, how do we rebuild, right? Like that whole thing,
writers always writing ourselves into a corner and being like,
Yeah.
wonder who's gonna get you out of the, it's me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, like there's all, I have this like great desire to do the thing that no post-apocalyptic writer ever really does, which is start on day 1 after the world ends. Like, because there are a lot of issues with starting a story on day 1 after the apocalypse, right? Because you don't have any systems in place. You don't have any way to get electricity or food or anything. You have to come up with all that stuff, right? But like, the cheat code is to just start the story 15 or 20 years after the apocalypse, where all that stuff is already set up and you can just like move on with your life, right?
You know, but the positive thing about, you know, taking on that challenge to write about day 1 after the apocalypse is that if you do,
Is that I'll be more ready for the apocalypse.
Yeah, you will be prepared. You know who I'm calling in an apocalypse,
right? Yeah, the guy that pretended the guy that LARPed the apocalypse in his novel, right? Like,
just make sure phones can work, because otherwise we're
right.
Yeah,
that's okay. We'll just head towards Georgia.
Yeah.
I don't know what direction it is. It's south.
Just head south.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't go to Georgia, because I feel like in the apocalypse those people would be dangerous, I'm in North
He's
Carolina.
heading south or north. We head
You
south.
wanna
We're
head
meeting in the middle.
Yeah, let's meet in let's see, what seems like a nice place? Montana?
Yes, Yellowstone. Hello. Sorry, just
Sure.
finished watching.
I don't
Well,
have to
I
drive
mean,
that far. That's an hour and a half.
unless the reason that we have an apocalypse is like the Yellowstone super volcano erupted, then we probably need to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
Or we're all dead anyway. So well,
we're hopeful thinking here. You know,
yeah, right.
That's a great note to end on. Post-apocalyptic survival notes.
Yes.
But also we were talking about connections and reaching out. So what if people have been absolutely inspired by everything you said today? Where can they locate you?
Well, if anyone is interested in talking to me further about my feelings of hopelessness and sadness over the state of the world, then they
And
can find me
inspiration, apparently.
yeah, right. At ShaneWilsonAuthor.com and on any of the social medias that matter, I guess, at that Shane Wilson.
That Shane Wilson.
That one. I should call it this Shane Wilson, maybe. I'll be able to say that Shane Wilson now that I'm trending, though.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. And we'll make sure to include those links in the podcast description for everybody to share, like, and follow you and find your work out there.
Absolutely.
I like that it's that. It just reminds me on my suitcase, I always write mine. And my mom used to be like, well, why? I'm like, because it's mine. They're like, well, what if someone else grabs it? I'm like, it doesn't say theirs. It doesn't say yours. It says mine. And I'll have
That's
it.
so
And I'll know it's mine. And she would just circle around for hours being like,
love
this
a
doesn't
good
make any
who's on
sense. And
first
I'm like,
routine.
it's mine.
Love a good who's on first routine. That's so good.
Drove her crazy. But thank you so much for being on our show. I know you talked about like, not feeling that creativity, but it's, not right now. And it's okay to pause. It's okay to set a work aside and say, it's not ready. And it's okay to set aside some work and say, I'm not ready. And there's ebbs and flows. I mean, I write lots in the summer and I don't think I've written more than 2 words this month. And then just that idea of inspiration. So thank you thank you. It was great.
I think I've been looking for a space to explore these thoughts a little bit. So thank you, ladies, for giving me the space to like work the room a little bit and sort of think through some of this stuff.
I feel like we molded that Play-Doh a little bit,
Yeah, we had a heart to heart, like I said at the top.
Creative.
Like we really.
Yeah.
Well, and
really
it'll be
pillow talked
interesting
this
to
thing out.
see in the comments, as this gets published, what other authors are feeling or readers or creatives. So that'll be a great discussion to have. Just while we wrap up though now, a big thank you to Creative Edge Publicity and the Author Library Network. And of course, all those people that are going to be writing those comments, all our viewers and all our listeners, thank you very much. You're what makes this podcast happen. Bye.
Thank you.